Hello? Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell him. Hey, sinners, it's your fucking prophet speaking. God says that we actually came from her vagina, not Adam's rib. God wants us to address her as that bitch now in all prayers and legal documents. Did you know that John has a twink on the side? Olivia doesn't even know. Oh my god, I heard that they're swingers. She practically propositioned me in the church parking lot. Having gained an angel, more like hell gained a bitch. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pouty Mouth. I'm your prophet and host, Tara, and today I have a very special guest who I was lucky enough to go on his podcast, and now he gets to come on mine, Karlos Dillard. Hello, Karlos.
Hey, girl, how are you?
Good. I'm so happy you're here. Can you introduce yourself to the girls? Let them know who you are.
Yes, absolutely. So, hi, everyone. My name is Karlos Dillard. I'm a two-time published author. I'm also a transracial adoptee and former foster youth. My pronouns are he, him, that bitch. What else about me? I've been married for 14 years. I live in Arizona. I'm a business owner of 3 different companies. I am a keynote speaker. I'm an advocate for children. That's how I met Tara here.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's who I am.
Oh my gosh, Karlos. And you know black does not crack because you look literally like you're 15. And
Listen,
you're like,
I tell
I've
people
been
all the
married.
time, they're like, why do you wear this ugly ass mustache? I do not like my mustache. I don't, guys. I get it. I know it's cute. I'm making it. I'm rocking it. But as soon as I shave my mustache, I get carded, and people are like, "Where's your parents?" I'm like, "I'm
Oh,
33."
you do. You look so young. I would never guess.
When I tell people I've been married for almost 15 years, they're like, I
Yeah,
was
I'm like, child bride.
well, I was 19, but no, yeah, black does not crack, and I also spend thousands of dollars a year on skincare products. So
Well, it's working. It's working because
thank
you
you.
look freaking gorgeous. Well, I'm excited to get into the topic because I've read your first book, The Ward of the State, which
Yes,
was so good. And now you have your second book out, The
yes.
Abort the Adoption.
We getting them with the name. We getting them with everybody hates that. They love to hate the name because they're like, what? They're like, so would you rather the kids die in abortion? I'm like, what does this say? They said abortion, the adoption. I said, babes, slow down. Get hooked on phonics, okay? Read it slowly. And then they said, yeah, it's talking about abortion. I said, what does abort mean? And they said, to abort a baby. And I said, so we need to go back to English class here.
Oh my gosh. That would be exhausting to explain over and over again.
But
But it,
that's why I did it. I intentionally named it Abort the Adoption because abortion and adoption are so correlated, especially online, and they're used
yeah,
as arguments against each other. So I wanted the title of the book to really tell the story, which means like stop the adoption. Like, it should have been avoided. But
yeah,
also I wanted to be kind of like in your face, like this is not an alternative for abortion.
yeah. No, I thought it was a great name. It's sitting in my Kindle library.
I love
And
it.
The Ward of the State, like that book just like brought me to so many tears. It was such a good book, Carlos. So I'm
Thank you.
so excited to read the second book, and I am literally just like shouting from the rooftops for people to read them. And let's get into like part of your story because of course people can go and read your books to get into the majority of them, but like talk us through before getting adopted and what was it like being in foster care?
Yeah, so I guess I should start off like at the very, very beginning, and which doesn't even I don't even start off that in my book, which I kind of like left that for a fourth book, like a prequel
Yeah.
of the trilogy, because you guys really don't understand anything. Even if you read book 1, you get glimpses of my birth family and like kind of like how our experience was, but I don't really delve into like the entire story. So I was the youngest of 4 children. My mother, I was born in Detroit, Michigan. My other siblings have a different dad, but my dad kind of like took on the other children as his own when I was born. Honestly, like for the first 5 years of my life, I remember a completely normal life. We went to school. My mom was there. You know, it was still hood-tastic, but like it was regular hood, right? It wasn't until my father got arrested for minor possession and like did the war on drugs, did a lot of years
Yeah.
for minor crimes. And my mother was like there with 4 children. She had no GED, no high school diploma, no real work history. And she was just like, okay, so what do I do? And my dad was a doughboy. And just like black women do, she took over his company and just did it better. Like she became one of the top dealers in Michigan during the 90s and 2000s. And she was moving big weight.
I'm sure.
but doing it with like such class. But the
Yeah.
issue is like you have 4 children, and even like in book one, I wrote about a little bit of it in book one. There was one story I wrote in book one about us getting pulled over and my sister having to hide the weight in her underwear, and like how traumatic that was, like for her and like for us to see
Yeah.
that. And so that's kind of like the reason why we were removed, was just because like my mother, we would have like drive-bys and people would like break into our home to try to get her stash. She would be gone for weeks at a time, doing drop-offs and things. I mean, then when she did come home, we had the freshest of fits. We the nicest clothes, the Nintendos. Like she didn't neglect us in material things, but
Yeah.
children need more than material things every time you come home every 3 to 4 weeks, right? They need a mother there. Our older sister kind of was like our interim mother, my sister Jatia, who I wrote about in my first book. So yeah, that's kind of like the start of the story. And then we entered foster care. And then in foster care, which is like crazy to me because yeah, like I said, like it was dangerous in the hood, like drive-bys and stuff. That all sounds dangerous, but like
Yeah.
in foster care, the danger was inside of these homes. And that's what the difference was, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was not that much danger inside of my home. There's some people praying, some of my mom's boyfriends were, a little touchy-feely. They were definitely like predators.
Yeah.
But that was a consistency in foster care, right? That was something that was consistent. And when I tell people how many homes I was in, they automatically go to me misbehaving, which I think is a misunderstanding. I entered so many homes because one, I just kept my mouth running. Do something to me.
Yeah.
They're beating me. They're beating me. Like I was
Yeah.
just that kid that I was just gonna tell. And if I didn't tell you, I told my sister. And my sister
Yeah.
would come over to the foster homes and like beat down their doors, and she refused to leave until our social worker came. I was like, I'm not leaving until he's in a new home. So a lot of the times it was because of like abuse or sexual abuse or mental abuse. And then sometimes it was just that the foster parents weren't prepared, or they had not enough space, or it was just already a temporary foster home. So yeah, foster care was definitely interesting. I think it kind of helped me build who I am today as far as being confident,
Yeah.
also being kind of like a chameleon, going to so many different homes. There were Catholic homes and Baptist homes and white homes and Asian homes and Latino homes. You kind of just have to like mold yourself into wherever you are. And as a child, like that was really traumatizing for me. But now as an adult, I kind of use it as like my superpower. Like I can go into any room, no matter the culture, no matter the religion, no matter the space. And I do know a lot about a lot of things. I think that's like why I loved having you on the show, because a lot of people think, oh, you're not Mormon, you don't oh, babes, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm also like that person when I go down a rabbit hole, like I really do like way too much, like way too much research. So I went down the Mormon rabbit hole like 3 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, they are fucking crazy.
Yes, so true. And I feel like it's also just in foster care in general. Like, I feel like Mormons have had their own iterations that they've made of it and been so involved in like adoption and stuff. So it's kind of hard not to come across when you're in the United States.
Yeah, especially if you do my line of work. Utah, I hate any case that comes out of Utah. I hate
That's what
any
people
case
say.
that comes.
Yeah.
Like every time a case comes by my desk, I'm like, hey, Carlos, there's a Utah. I'm not available.
Yeah.
But I hate to say that, but I'm just like, the last case that I took in Utah ended up in fucking Ogden County Court because
Yeah.
the lady tried to kidnap the baby on TikTok, kidnapped the baby, and then like I tried to help the baby with the birth mom, and it was like a whole mess. It was an entire mess, and it was just like the Mormons just they have their own way. Like that whole state
Yeah.
just has their own way of doing
And laws,
everything.
I'm sure you're just like, how are we supposed to work within these laws that literally give no rights
There,
to
there are
the
no
birth parent?
There are absolutely no rights. And but then just like the policies, just like the state policies for adoption, that you have to be married, you have to be over 21. Well,
Yes.
what a bitch, what if you just want to be a single bitch with a
Yeah.
baby? Like,
Yes. They make it so hard.
really, really hard. And I was just like, that's ridiculous. I never have been to a state that was so restrictive of people's like human rights, like for real, even at the bar. Like, what are you telling me? I can only have 0.5 ounces of an alcohol. Like, who are you?
And you have to eat something. They have to make sure you eat something.
Who are you?
I know. It's literally like being babysat.
They tried that at the airport, which if you guys didn't know this, so the lounges specifically, any place at the airport, that's federal property. So your state laws don't apply. They try that shit. I was like, baby, give me my full amount of ounces. That this Oregon shit or this Utah shit don't apply here. Okay. This is federal property. Okay. Run me all my alcohol.
Give me
Thank
my
you.
drink.
You
Gosh.
order. I learned, do not order a Long Island in Utah. You're gonna get juice. That's all it
Yeah.
will be.
And
people don't know what it is. Like when I was a waitress, somebody like ordered a Long Island iced tea, or they ordered an Arnold Palmer, and I was like, I don't know what
You know,
either of
well,
those
because
are.
a Long Island is like 3 ounces of alcohol, so it's like you can't even make that
Yeah,
in
too
Utah.
much alcohol. Yeah. Well, I feel like what was I going to ask you too, because I feel like now just drugs and like parents being drug dealers have been popularized in media, right? Like you see Ozark, where it's like, oh, this is like so cool now that like this white family is doing it, and like all of us are rooting for them, and like their kids never get threatened, you know, to get taken away or anything like that. And so where does that work into the dynamic of you being placed into foster care? Because
I
there's
mean,
people every day. Like I have so many people that I know that are literally doing coke all the
no,
time
for real.
and have
So
kids.
I talk about it. So my mother was never a user, so like
Yeah.
don't get high on your own supply. That's what she always would say, like,
Yeah.
right? But my issue with that is like with anything, just like with marijuana, now that it's been legalized in majority of the states, it's like cool and it's a fad. But we have people still in prison doing 20, 30 years for the same things, right?
Yeah.
My mother didn't do anything that Pfizer or any pharmaceutical company hasn't been doing and worse, right? At least you knew you
Yeah.
were getting drugs, okay? And you will get addicted, okay? They've been lying to you, right? So I
Yeah.
right? So I think it really shows the underbelly of our racist society that, when it's cool when you do it, but when I do it, fuck it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's with a lot of things. It's with a lot of things. And that even goes down to like our rights, right? Not to make this about the deportation thing, but I ain't seen so many white people so upset. What the fuck? So everybody upset now?
Yeah. Yeah.
We and
Seriously.
I didn't know when we became French because I hear we a lot. I'm hearing we a lot because I thought it was just us. I thought it was
Yeah.
just FUBU, but then now it's we. So now
Yeah.
everybody got to be concerned because when niggas go through shit, it's just well, pick yourself up, don't be a stereotype. So we do. And we protest and we have everything on our own. We go to prison for the simple crimes that you guys are now making millions of dollars doing the same shit,
Yeah.
right? And then when we say anything, it's I'm just exhausted. It's black exhaustion. You guys complain about it's like, oh my God. Like, so to answer that question, I think it's fucked up. I think it's fucked up. And I honestly, for black people specifically, I feel like we've been too nice. We've been
Yeah.
too nice to people. Honestly, I will vote. I've been singing that song all week. All week. And everyone's like, why are you singing that song? Because I was like, it gives my ancestors power to know, like, no longer I feel like we're like the bitches of the social ladder. Like, as soon as somebody else has a problem, we're supposed to be there to protect them. And I think that goes right into what your question is like. How does that make you feel? It makes me feel fucked up that our country makes up 12% of the population of Black people, but we make up 25% of our foster care system. So that means that we're double represented. What is the why? And I know that there are more crackhead white people. I know that you have more people in the country. So why
Yeah.
aren't your children overrepresented?
Yeah. And
And
it's
then
like the social structures are keeping slavery going, right? Like with prison systems, like people were shocked to find out about the free labor that prisoners do for McDonald's and for Target and all these different companies.
well,
And it's like,
did you hear the farmers talking about we were comfortable with deporting the undocumented immigrants because we figured the Black folks would come back and get the job since they're all jobless. First of all, I don't know who told y'all we were jobless, okay?
yeah,
Some of us are. Most of us actually have businesses and actual like things that we're doing outside of, mainstream making money ways. But did you really think that Black folks were going to come out there and yes, a massa on a field? Like our ancestors worked too hard. I don't give a fuck if
seriously.
you're paying $1,000 an hour. You will not see my Black ass picking any type of anything.
Yeah.
I just don't care. I
Unless I
just
own
can't
it.
do it.
If I own
Unless it's my land
yeah.
and my food, yeah, then you'll see me picking it. Sure thing. Right? But yeah, no, I'm not finna go on a white man's field and pick your product for you. No,
Yeah.
babe. No, babe.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And it bleeds into
Absolutely not.
everything too, like, especially when it comes to
Well,
adoption and foster care
that's
too.
what I wanted to ask you. I know you're in a different country living your like, new country life. Do you feel different? Like, do you feel like that? Is there, because when I travel, like we went to Peru
Mhm.
2 months ago, I don't know if you can if you could feel similar, but like I don't have that weight of blackness on me when I travel outside the States. Like I'm not black, I'm American. And it's so different. Like no one cares that I'm black. No one's following me. In fact, they know I'm American, so they're like, hey, like you get the best customer service. Not everywhere. You still deal
Yeah.
with some shit. And in general, I feel like me worrying about like police following me or people following me around the restaurant or just like being set. Like that's another thing in America. I'm always super conscious of where they're seating us in restaurants because they always fucking sit us in the back or by the kitchen. When we're
Yeah.
traveling, that's not something that I have to worry about. So do you feel that too? Like it's like a weight lifted,
Um,
or is it kind
it's
of like,
it's literally a night and day difference. Like I
is
was not expecting this because I was really nervous to move to Kyrgyzstan. A lot of people don't know that like only 30 years ago they were under Soviet rule. So it's only been like 35 years, 34 that they've been independent. And they're Asian, and so I feel like that can be hit or miss, right? For black people. Like I know places like Korea or Japan, I've heard people like, "Oh, it's really racist there," or really like this, but like I have never been treated so well in my life. Like my husband and I talk about it all the time, and I was like, wait, is this like what white privilege feels like? He's like, I think this is it. Yeah. Because you just don't worry about things when I go out. And I
yeah,
know people, and here it's even more to the point that they not only do they love Americans, they love black Americans. Like
hmm,
they really, really love 90s black American culture. So they're obsessed with it. Like people will ask to take my pictures, like people will ask me like what music I want to listen to when we're at a restaurant. It's
yep.
wild.
Yep, that's the same thing that like we get a lot. And also, we don't deal with homophobia traveling as much as you think
Interesting.
we would,
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
right? When we went to Peru, which is very Catholic, they real Christian, real Catholic.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mr. Dillard, how are you? Everywhere. We were even at the churches. We went to visit a basilica there in Cusco, and like everyone was just very respectful. And it was just like just I said, dang, is this how it feels to feel human? Like
Yeah.
for real. And it just made me feel so safe and so secure. But yeah, I just think that's I really feel like we're dropping the ball here in America, and race is our biggest issue. Like honestly, we can't be the greatest country. It's like we're a crackhead that wants to get over and say like we're recovering, but we still like do other things, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't do crack
Yeah.
no more, but I'm doing meth. Like maybe
I've switched. I've switched to heroin. Don't worry about it. Like I feel way similar to you, and it's crazy because it's like I love living here so much. Like I cannot believe that I would like it way more than the US.
wow.
I don't think I ever like want to go back sometimes. I'm like, this is so amazing
Everyone
here.
that leaves, like I have a friend in Germany, she says the same thing. My best friend, she's trying to move to I think she's moving to Korea. Chris and I have picked South America. That's going to be like our place. I think Costa Rica is going to be the place like that we will settle down at. But I'm just waiting. I'm collecting my coins here. I'm just waiting until he says like eminent domain.
We
Till
gotta
he
get out.
says martial law, then I'm gonna be like, all right, time to go.
Till he says, start rounding up the gays and the niggers.
Right? Then I'm gonna make as much money as possible, and then time to go. Time to go. But we're digital nomads all anyways already. So
Yeah.
we've
So
already prepared ourselves. We can just
you could
see
even
ya.
know. Yeah.
See ya. Just sell everything. And I'll just leave everything. I'll just have my white neighbor sell it. Hey, can you sell my stuff and send me the money, please?
Help a brother out. Well, I feel like so you talk about like the abuse in the foster homes and stuff. Did you know from like a young age that you were gay, or was that something you discovered later on?
Yeah, that's what people always ask me. I knew that I was gay before I even entered foster care. My birth family, my sister is a lesbian. She's always been like a lesbian. We didn't know what to call it. We call it like a tomboy,
Yeah.
but like she's always been like a boy. And it was kind of like we had four boys. My mom had four boys, except for me, because my sister was the one playing football and everything. And then people would buy her like dolls and makeup and stuff. And we would just switch toys. Like at Christmas, I
That's
remember like
perfect.
every year, like we would switch toys. Like I would get like Hot Wheels and like monster trucks and GI Joes, and she would get like Barbies and Barbie doll Jeeps, and then I would be, and then we would just literally like switch toys. So my mom just started buying us opposite toys. She was like, okay, well, clearly, like, I'm not going to keep buying her girl toys and him boy
Yeah.
toys. And I didn't know what it was. Like, I'm sure my mom knew what it was. And after talking to my birth mother, she's like, yeah, Karlos, like, I knew ever since like you were like 2 or 3 years old, like
Yeah.
you was sweet. But she goes, it didn't matter because you were my son. And she goes, you weren't hurting anybody. And she goes, I knew that the life that you would have to have growing up, she goes, I wanted you to be secure and who you were. And I never wanted you to feel like you couldn't do something. So that's one thing I have to shout out my birth mom for, because like she cheerleading, anything girly. She was never like that black mama was like, no. And then if anyone said anything, she would beat your ass. Like she would stab you. Like I will stab you. Say something about my son, I'll stab you. Right?
Literally.
That's where I get it from, guys.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know that it was a problem until I entered foster care. And I would sort of play with the girl toys, and they was like, no, you can't play with the girl toys. And I'd be like, why?
Mm.
And they were like, well, because it's for girls. And I was like, no, it's not. My mom let me play with these all the time. Because toys were just toys. Like it was just a toy. My mom didn't make a big deal. Oh, this is a girl toy, this is a boy toy. It was just a toy, and whatever you wanted to play with, you could play with. And that's when and then we were at the religious homes, and then that's when I first discovered the word gay. Like I would think I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade in foster care, and we were at church, and they were talking about abomination. And I asked one of the foster moms, her name was Miss Miller, and I said, "What's an abomination?" She says, "You."
Damn, Miss Miller. Not to the 2nd grader.
That literally, she goes, "You," and I said, "How?" And she goes, "Because of the way that you act." And she says, "You prefer to do things that are more feminine than masculine, and God wants you to be a man." And she goes, "Don't you want to please God?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Right? Like, it's in the fucking 2nd grade. Like,
yeah.
I guess. And then she said, okay, well, then you can't play with girl toys anymore, and you have to do boy things. And I started to try to do more of those things, but boys pick up on that. Like it was just, what am I just going to get picked on for trying to hang out with these boys? And the issue is I'm actually very athletic. So even though I don't like sports, even though I don't like to do boy things, if I'm doing them, I'm going to do it better.
Yeah.
And that also caused a problem because I'm over here
like, oh, look at the sissy, how good he is now too, and now we extra hate him.
Look at the sissy, like throwing balls and catching footballs and being able to bat. To this day, people are like, oh my God, like, you know how to build houses? Like, you know how to run electricity? You can pour concrete? Like, I don't know why, just because I like getting my toes done, why do you think that I'm still not masculine, right? I just don't prefer to do those things sometimes, but I can do them. And that actually caused more problems because like, then they were trying to beat you up. And that's another thing. Stop trying to fight gay people. We've been fighting our whole lives. We've been fighting since we were conceived, okay? I love to fight. Give me a reason to beat somebody's ass, okay? Please stop fighting us. Stop fighting us.
People
okay?
always choose the wrong ones too, because like I have always had so much pent up aggression. Like I literally like walk through the store just like waiting for somebody. I'm like, oh, I wish I could find a Karen today. Gosh, I have so much that I need to take out on somebody. My gosh.
The
Okay,
one Karen,
so
I don't know if you've ever seen my Karen video. It went viral in 2020. The one time I did run into a Karen, I was so trauma informed. If you look it up after this, it was actually, you just look up my name, Karlos Dillard Karen. And I was like, are you okay, ma'am? Do you need some water? And she's like screaming like, you're gonna kill me. I was like, ma'am, no, you're not. You're safe. Because she had called me an N-word and flicked me off and then followed me. So I flipped the script and I said, all right, bitch, two can play that game. And then she's going to get out of her car. I have a black, I'm not a racist. I said, ma'am, ain't nobody, okay. Are you okay, ma'am? Are you? So the one time I had, but that's also the thing. You think like, oh, when I run into a Karen, like I'm funny. But then your reality sits in and I was like, this is a white woman and I'm a black man in the middle of Seattle. Ain't none good finna happen if I don't just be calm and just, appease this white woman for right, still embarrass her and get it on camera. But I can't do, and people say like, so what do you do with white racist men? I said, nothing will ever get recorded. Like I've run into white racist men all the time. You just beat ass and you walk away. I mean, there's no reason to record nothing. Ain't no reason to have a conversation. Ain't nobody calling the police. Just beat ass, walk away. Ain't nobody know.
I feel like that now too. Like my husband works for the federal government. That's how we got out here. He's a foreign service officer. So people now like on the internet will like threaten me and I'm like, let me just send this into the Marines because it's actually against the law to threaten,
people,
the family or the person with a federal worker. I like literally messaged them like, thanks for the screenshot. You probably will get an email or a call.
Right. I'll just say this. My husband also works. He's a contracted worker for a government agency here in the States and
He's probably making
housing specifically, like he's a compliance manager or specialist now. And there'll be some people where I'll just be like, they'll say like ignorant or like threats. And I'll just find out a first and last name and I'll say, hey, babes, can you check, see if they're on housing? Can I tell you how many of them are actually on housing? So
oh my
then
god.
Chris reaches out to the housing agent and says, hey, I would like to do an audit, knowing that and then even as so, and then a lot of them are stupid because they're on TikTok, like fundraising and asking for money and like getting cash
Yeah.
apps and stuff, and they don't put that into their income. So when he asks for an audit, he's just like, did they put their cash app and their TikTok funds on there? Oh, they didn't. Oh, they overqualify. So
Oh
now, bitch, you
my
just lost your whole house
idiots.
over fucking with somebody on the
People think
internet.
they're so slick, like, as if
Now, listen, I'm not saying he does this. I'm just saying that's just it's plausible.
allegedly,
Allegedly,
allegedly.
allegedly.
So growing up then, were you religious? Like, was your mom religious and
My birth
okay
mom.
yeah, because, like, I feel like now, like, looking at foster homes and, like, realizing that, like, oh, some kids are now gonna have to, like, be accustomed to whatever religious traditions of this family, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like
Not really, like, we were religious as far as, like, we knew, like, the 10 Commandments and, like, mom would say things like, "God made dirt, dirt don't hurt," or stuff like that, like but, like, we didn't, like, go to church or we weren't part of, like, a denomination. It was more so, like, my grandmother was Baptist, and we would sometimes go to church with her or sometimes go to church with my aunt, but, like, my mom being herself, like, we didn't. That wasn't really our thing.
so how did you feel, like, going into foster homes and now, like, getting foster homes that were, like, super religious and, like, taking you to church all the time?
Honestly, I think that, like, that's what always got me in trouble because, like, I've always been, like, an analytical person. So, I just and that's why I feel like religion didn't ever really, like, flow with me because I had too many questions all the time. Like, for when I was in foster care, there we went to a lot of, like, Pentecostal or Baptist churches, and they would catch the Holy Ghost. And I would ask, like, "How do we know if this is the Holy Ghost? How do we know it's not the devil? Because y'all said that, like, comes in different forms." And then I said, like, "I've never seen any angels act like this, like, on TV or in the scriptures, but, like, I've definitely seen demons be portrayed of, like, convulsing and speaking in different languages and stuff." So to me, I would
Yeah.
ask them, like I was like, "How do they know, like, that's the Holy Ghost?" And then especially when I got adopted with my white parents, they were Catholic, like, severe Catholics. Like, they really believe that they're eating and drinking the body and blood of Christ. And I remember my adopted mom got mad at me. Like, most Catholics know that it's a representation.
Yeah.
It's a representation. They really do think that once the priest consecrates the host or the Eucharist in the wine, that it becomes the body and blood. So she was trying to teach me this, and I said, "So wouldn't that make you a cannibalist?" And I was like in 5th grade at that point. And I remember she got mad at me. She was like, "No, that wouldn't." I was like, "Well, if you're eating the body and you're drinking blood, that's cannibalism. And that's not very holy to me." And so I just never really understood religion as far as like logically.
Yeah.
But as far as like me have like wanting to be religious, nah. By the time I got there, like I already knew. I was just like, I've seen so much. There's no way that God could really be true. And if it is true, then your God is fucked up. Like that's how I felt up until like the last year or so. Now it's more so I'm understanding that like we're all gods within ourselves and our ancestors are more gods than what we persuade or portray as
Yeah.
God.
Which I feel like some religious people, if you said that to them, would freak out and be like, "That's hedonism," like, to believe that. But, like, that's
But it's not though, because if you even take your own words, it says that he made you in his image. If
yeah.
you take your own words, but they like to pick and choose. So
Yeah.
like now I honestly I just think it's such a disservice for a lot of religious organizations to be how they are because they really I mean, it's like a nice club. That's how I feel like about religion. Like it's a
Yeah.
cool club. I would compare it to a sorority, a fraternity, or like a book club where like you go with people who have similar thoughts, ideals, and traditions as you to, commune. And I think that's fantastic. I don't like the part where I don't like the cult part,
Yeah.
right? Like the you can't sit with us part. I don't like that part. I don't
Yeah.
like the
The
if you don't
forced sexuality and
yes,
forced
yes, anything that's forced, like, I have these conversations on my live a lot, and people there'll be some Christians that'll say, "Well, I'll accept you, but you're still going to hell." Well, that's not acceptance, babes.
just
And then I just use their own scriptures against them because most of them actually haven't read their own scriptures from front to back multiple times, like I have. And I said, well,
Yeah.
God said, "Come as you are," and He also said that only He can judge. So how are all y'all judging? Only He can judge. You
Yeah.
don't know. You don't know. And then the biggest thing about religion, specifically with Christianity, that like just burns my toast, is that they think that you can murder somebody, but you can be forgiven. But if a gay person doesn't repent, then they're going to hell, and this murderer is not because they accepted Christ. That sounds backwards as fuck to me.
Yeah. It is, because there's also so much, like, sexual assault and stuff that, again, at least in Mormonism, they believe that, like, you could repent of that. But, like, a gay person being in a gay relationship, like, was
And
not
that's
acceptable.
That's literally, and it's usually people who have children out of wedlock. They're not married. They don't pay their taxes. Like they,
Yes, so much stuff.
they don't tithe. They're not volunteering. They're not doing anything godly, right? Meanwhile, me and my husband over here married for 14 years, no children out of wedlock. We pay tithes, even though we're not religious. I still like, to
Yeah,
me, a tithe is like when you donate. Like
donating. Yeah,
donate. I don't donate to churches, bitch, but I definitely donate to nonprofit organizations and to
yeah,
like foster care organizations and stuff. I donate my time to help like at this therapeutic ranch like I volunteer at. But I'm like, if I were to put you, if we were to write down a list of deeds, good and bad, right? Or just good and bad, and just take out sexuality, babes, I'm running circles around you as far as
yeah,
good deeds.
yeah,
But you think just because of my sexuality, that's invalidating and I don't believe that. I don't
yeah.
believe, even if you want to believe in their God, he's gonna, if the pearly gates are real, I'm gonna get there. He's gonna be like, okay, so what is the bad thing you did in your life? I said, well, and I'll be honest, well, according to you, God, being gay, but I did everything else right. If this nigga looks at everything else that I did right and survived through my life and says, yeah, you're going to hell, I don't even want to be there.
Yeah, truly, and we're all gonna be partying in hell anyway, so why
I
would
don't
you wanna
even
be
want to, right? And the people who say that they're going to heaven, like heaven sounds horrendous. Like, like heaven sounds so bad.
so bad? Just, like, a bunch of, like, white MAGA bros. That's all that's there.
Heaven sounds like Gilead.
Yeah, for real. Percent. And it's like, we've already seen this. We already know how this plays out.
I was speaking of Gilead. I just finished the last season of Handmaid, and
Me
you know what
too.
clicked to me about the whole thing? Serena Joy is actually the main character. And I think everyone thinks that June is the main character. I don't see that. It's Serena. Serena's the
Yeah.
main character. She's like, she destroyed an entire country because of her
Yeah.
because she had infertility trauma. Because of the last episode when she's like literally homeless with nothing and she's like an escapee. You remember that scene? She talks to her baby and she goes, this whole time, all I ever wanted was you. Now I have you. And that's all I ever need in life. So I was like, wait, so you did all of that for
Oh
a
god.
baby?
Yeah. I
Oh,
think the end of Handmaid's Tale, I literally just did, like, an episode on this, so I love talking about it. But I wanted her to die so bad because I realized that, like, sometimes the worst parts of patriarchy and the things that hurt us the most in it are by the women.
yeah. People hate when I
And
say this and they say that it's misogynistic, but it's not really not because I don't know. Y'all women let me know. But I think to solve our problems worldwide, we got to get rid of white women. We can't really get rid of the men, but we got you know
we
why we got
can't.
to get the white women? Because they're the carriers. Right?
I didn't even
Eventually,
think of that.
if we got rid of the white men will only have other women to breed with, and then they'll get eventually a generation or two, we'll flush them out. But white women will keep creating white men. So to
That's
stop white
true.
men,
You have to
we
stop
have
the
to stop the carrier.
I feel like too, like in Handmaid's Tale, it just like full on rage towards the white women in it. Like
Yeah.
I
Even
have
June, I can't
yeah,
stand her either.
yeah,
Can't
yeah,
stand
some of
this bitch. Like literally places but that is so white feminism. Like places everyone else in danger so you can feel just.
yeah. And like thinks her way is the best way to do it, even though it's like you have other people who are willing to like take this up now, right? Like you don't have to save the world. Like we get it that like your daughter is still there, but you also have another daughter now.
Listen, and I'm gonna say this as an adoption and foster care advocate. Baby, that girl is too far deep in Gilead. It's been 8, 9 years.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought
She's almost an adult.
I was thinking the same thing. By the end of it, I was really thinking the same thing of like, what would her daughter like?
Her
She
daughter
said her
will
daughter,
report you. She's
yeah,
like, ma'am, your daughter will string you up. Like, and this is
yeah,
what they're not understanding. When you're in a cult like religion like that, even it took me and even probably you, it took me
yeah,
years to unpack
yeah,
adoption trauma and then religious trauma and like my conservative mindset. Like 10 years after even being in that home, it took me 10 years to be like, all of this was wrong.
yeah.
Everything I was taught was wrong. So I don't know why she has this image of her child. Like, and
Like
I
she's gonna
love,
save her,
yeah,
and
and like she's still that age. I love that the last episode they actually show like a picture of her adult, like the age of the daughter, like kind of
now,
like
yeah,
now, and like her just like saying it's okay, mom, like leave me here, because she's who she is now.
yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy, 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 crazy show.
That's like the best tangent ever. I feel like. I feel so. How long were you in your adopted like family's home? How many
So that's an
years?
interesting question. So I was there from 9 to 15. So what is that? 9 to 10, 10, 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 13, 13, 14. So I would say like 5 to 6 years. And that's how long I was under their custody. How long was I in their home? Less than 2 years. Because they just kept sending me to places. Like, so I spent 2 years at the ranch in Wyoming. And then I spent like 6 months at a conversion therapy. And then I spent like 6 months living with my principal. So like literally like less than 3 years, actually like calendar days in their home, less than 3 years.
Wow. And so much just like trauma. Like I feel like they like it probably in some ways would have been better for you to never have gone into their home because they really didn't take care of you. Like,
I say yes and no. Like I was just, excuse me, I was just talking about this the other day because my brother came to live with me for a little bit, and I saw so much trauma in him, and like he's
mm,
still that 12-year-old boy who got stuck in foster care. The difference between him and I was that I had access to education, and I think access to education helps you understand that you need help. I think that's the biggest difference. Access to education and make understanding, the human body, understanding the human mind made it easier for me to say, hey, I actually have like CPTSD, and these things are not something that you should be ashamed of. It's just natural, right?
yeah.
It's a lot of people don't realize that most children who experience foster care have traumatic brain injuries. Your brain chemistry is completely altered forever because of
Yeah.
some of these things that happen, right? So when I look back, when I say like, yes, I think legally my parents should have just let me stay in foster care, especially in that last home that I was in. I was actually great there.
Yeah.
I probably would have stayed in that home. Now, if I would have stayed in that home, we don't have a crystal ball, but I can say if I would have stayed with Ms. D, I would have been set. Like I would have been okay up to 18 and, hopefully went to college, is that and other. But I don't know if that would have been guaranteed. So I don't want to say like, oh yeah, I would definitely been okay because I could have went off to like even a worse foster home and then ended up
Yeah.
unalived, right? What I say is that for some reason, I needed to be exactly where I was to get to where I am today. And I know that sounds so fucked up, but
Yeah.
when I look at the other family members in my family who went through the same experience, the only difference between us was that adoption. So I look and I said, what's one thing that they gave you that your siblings did not get? And it was education. Now, they beat that education into me,
Mm,
right? Kneeling on
yeah.
rice, having to read the dictionary, suck on soap if I got words wrong. There were times they would lock me in a basement, and then I would have to read all the D's in the dictionary. And then she would just ask me a word like, what's delusional? And then you have to give the definition. It was like a spelling bee on crack. And you're kneeling on rice, right?
Yeah.
Hungry. And your mother is trying in her brain
That's
as
a
a
big thing I've heard of in Christian homes specifically is the kneeling on
yeah,
rice.
it's a torture. It's actually a known torture method. I don't know. They just passed it down. They're weirdos.
Yeah.
Because her mother, I guess, used to do it to her. So yeah, to answer that question, I now say like I wouldn't change a day in my life. I wouldn't because I'm here now. And now I can look back and say every step got me closer to where I am today. But I think I made it because I don't think any other children should have to go through it.
Yeah. 'Cause you went through a lot, like, so after you basically ran away from their house,
Mhm.
or would it even you were, like, kicked out, like, it
So
wasn't even running away,
I said, I just need you to sign these papers so I can just go. And I even
and you
had
were
a
only, like, 15 at this
yeah,
time?
Yeah, I had saved enough money that I had enough, like, and I said, even help me get. And the thing was, if they would have signed those emancipation papers, I could have gotten myself a house. All I needed was them to sign that. I already had the money. I wasn't asking financially for anything from them. I had saved all of my money since I've been working for like a year and a half. And I've been working since
Wow.
13, and they're
Yeah.
getting $2,500 a month for me. And I'm like saving all of my little money that I'm getting, right? I had saved like $1,600, $1,700, and that was enough to get an apartment. And I went to the complex and they said, well, you're like, I was turning 16 in like a couple weeks. They said, you're too young. But she said, if you can get an emancipation, then you can make a legal agreement with us. I said, okay, great. And I now know why my mother didn't want to do that. I didn't understand it as a kid. Like, why? Okay, I'm asking to leave. Just let me go.
Yeah.
That would mean that she would have to transfer that 2,500 to me because or it would just stop because they only got that money if they were my guardians, right? If they were
Oh,
my
okay.
legal guardians. So since if I would have went through the emancipation, I would have been my own legal guardian, which meant that either the state would have paid me or they would have just turned off the money altogether. So like a month before my 16th birthday, she like there was this day where she was just so aggressive. And she was mad that I was on my phone and I was talking to a friend from work and she was like, get off the phone. And I said, well, I have to get plan this shift because I'm taking my friend's shift. I have to see what they need me to do. And she takes my phone and like slaps it out of my hand. And that's when and by the time that time they had sent me to a cowboy ranch where I had to become a man. So like I'm big. I'm big at this point. I'm
Mhm.
no longer a little kid. And I said, bitch, you not I'm just like I was like, bitch, you're fucking with the wrong one. And
Yeah.
then at this moment, she's 6 months pregnant. I said, this is not your fucking phone. You don't pay for it. You don't pay for anything. You use me as a slave. You're getting paid for the state. And she put me up against the wall like this. And she goes, I don't care how big you are, nigger. You'll never speak to me like that in my house. And I like between breaths, I said, if you don't let me go, this will be the last time you ever touch me,
Wow.
ever. And then she let me go and she tried to like ring up and slap. And I caught her. And I said, I told you, this is the last time you're touching me. And then my dad came down. He was actually from that time. He actually yelled at her. He was like, "Debbie, just leave him alone." And
Yeah.
then I said, "I have to go to work." I was on my way to work. I was like, "I have to go to work." So I left. I called my dad and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna stay." Our neighbor Heather, she worked with me. I said, "I'm gonna stay with Heather." Her parents said I can stay with them for like 5 or 6 days. I just don't think it's okay. I just don't think it's gonna be okay for me and mom to be, together right now. And he says, "Okay."
Yeah.
So Heather and her family then we were going to Daytona Beach that weekend. They took me to Daytona Beach. We came back Monday night. It was just summertime, so school was out. We came back Monday night, and Heather's like, "All right, Carlos, I'll drop you off at home." So we go around the block to my house, and there's a for sale, a for rent. These bitches left so fast. There's a for rent sign. All of my shit is like my bed, my clothes, everything. My whole room was out in the lawn.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and then I looked into the house. The house was empty. There was a letter that was attached that had my name on it. It said Carlos, and then it had my birth certificate in it. It had my social security card in it, and a letter that said that it was like a guardianship letter, and it said whoever wants to sign this can have guardianship of him. I was like, okay. It was an emergency medical release form. That's exactly what it was, and it said like if you need to go to the hospital, whoever you're staying with, have them sign this paper, and they'll have permission to take you to the hospital. And then other than that, it said good luck in life and call the police if you want to enter back into foster care. Now, what does the 15-year-olds do with that?
I would literally be like, I'm on my own.
And mind you, I had already been in foster care. I'm not taking
Yeah.
that risk again.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? Maybe this is it. Like this is what I wanted. I wanted to be free from them. I did not understand. Now I wish I could go back in time and tell that little 15-year-old boy, please go to the police station. Please report them as abandoning you. One, so
Yeah.
they can go to jail, and two, so you can get help and get resources. I could have definitely. I was smart enough. I was doing good in school. They would have probably put me in like a like an extended foster care or assisted living because that's what I would ask for. Hey, I just want to be an adult. I just want to get out. I just want to just start
Yeah.
my life, right? And that's why I tell kids now, like, don't just let these people abandon you. Don't run away. You are a minor, and dangerous things can happen to you.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately what ended up happening to me. Was I never got asked to leave the Glazers. They were so nice. I even dedicated my second book to my Heather's mom. They were so nice. But her mom was going through stage 4 cancer. Like, she was, like,
Wow.
dying. Like, she was, like, literally dying in front of us.
Yeah.
She died a couple like, 6 months, 7 months after that whole thing. And then
Wow.
their older sons were getting in trouble with the law. So like they had like a lot going on in their family, and
Yeah.
then they were still trying to help me. And I really felt like a burden to them. And
Yeah.
they would always tell me, like, you're not a burden, Carlos, but like, I don't know, maybe it's just like the foster youth or adoptee in me. They never asked me to leave, but when Donna started getting sicker and sicker, I just said, "Hey, I have another friend's house I'm gonna stay at. It's closer to the school I wanna go to." So, and they said, "Okay, Carlos, you're always
Yeah.
welcome here. You're all," and I always went back, like, just to see them. So yeah, I actually went with my friend Liz, and I stayed with her, and her mom worked. She was a charge nurse at nighttime, so it was like, and they had a pool house, which was like a whole apartment. So I stayed in that pool house for like 3 months. Her mom didn't even know I was there because I would work during the day, and then her mom would go to work at 6 p.m. and they get off at 6 a.m. So like we just kept missing each other, and it worked out. And eventually her mom found out that I was there, and she's like, "Carlos, you're only 16. Like, I need your parental parents." And I was like, "Bitch, I don't even know where they are."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, either I'm gonna call the police or CPS, or you have to." And I said, "Just give me 2 hours, I'll
Yeah.
be out." Because I said, "Just don't call them." And then that's when my homelessness like really started. Stayed at a couple friends' house here and there, a night or so, and then eventually you just run out of friends, right? You run out of people, especially as
Yeah.
a minor, especially during the school year. People don't want their kids' friends like hanging out during the school year all day, every day.
Yeah.
So, I was on the street, sleeping at parks, sleeping at car dealerships in empty cars if they left them unlocked. Yeah, it was crazy.
So, so crazy. And I feel like I can't believe that your adoptive parents got away with that. But I see that happening a lot. Like I also see like in Utah, a thing that I would see all the time was people that I knew or friends that I had where they were adopted as babies. And then when they became teenagers, their parents would place them into foster care because they were like, "Oh, you're too much to handle. You're not following our rules.
Hmm.
You're too wild." And like wild to Mormons is just normal teenage behavior, you know? Like they're like you're not even allowed to masturbate as a Mormon. So imagine like
That's
that's
crazy.
the yeah, like that's the standard that they're expecting and that's like literally a human function
That's
to like
crazy.
survive is not allowed. And so I really have wondered for a long time how much of Utah's like foster care system is filled with just adoptees
Probably a
that
lot.
got placed back in
Probably a lot of adoptees rehomed. And
yeah.
what I see in a lot is like every time I hop on TikTok, there's a black adoptee in Utah being
Yes,
like, I'm a
there's
like, but then it's crazy because it's not that there's literally like less than 1% of black people in Utah. So it's like they're bringing these children to be isolated racially. Like, it's crazy.
100%. It's I swear to God, like, it's, like, all adoptees that are there that are make up that 1%. Because it's, like, that's
Because
what they
no
do, like,
black people are going to Utah by choice to like live there and settle down.
I think maybe after they're, like, adults and they're
Okay.
like, "Okay, like, I guess I'm comfortable here," and then, like, have kids, but yeah, like, I think so many people who I know in Utah, it's, like that are Black is because they were adopted. I have one friend that has an actual, like, biological parent that is Black.
That's crazy.
Yeah, everyone else is adopted, but that is so wild that they just left you, and I think that that's just something that happens a lot. Now I feel like in your advocacy work, what do you say to people when they say, because I've gotten this a lot of comments of like you would have rather you been aborted or abortion, like there's so many Black people that are in foster care, like this is like saving Black people.
Hmm.
What do you say it to those comments? Because I'm sure you get them a lot.
I do. So to the black thing in foster care, there are actually more white children in foster care, so you guys should be worried about your children. Secondly, black people do more kinship and guardianship because we don't need the government to intercede for us to take care of our communities. We've been doing that for millennia.
Mhm.
And then as far as the would you rather have been aborted, absolutely yes.
Yeah, that's what I say too.
Like, if you knew what I survived, and don't even cool, well, you went through that to be a testimony. I'm not trying to be nobody's motherfucking testimony. Now, I'm here. That's not an option, right? I'm happy that I'm here. But if I didn't have to go through any of that trauma or remember any of that trauma that I deal with on a daily basis and just not had existed, then sure, yeah, absolutely. And just logically, being child-centered, my mother of 3 children at the time, with no high school diploma, no husband, no future,
Yeah.
Bitch, you should have aborted.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
I would have fully, if I was her friend, I would have fully supported her on that. And I don't even, and then here's the issue. Here's the kicker. I'm actually pro choice. So my choice, if I had a uterus and if I got pregnant, I wouldn't have an abortion. Right. That's
Yeah.
just my personal choice. But I also wouldn't adopt my child out. I would raise
Yeah.
my child. I'm that
Yeah.
person that was like, okay, I'm just, bitch, I made a bad decision. So it happened. I'm stuck with it. But then I also don't like that because that's where you get shitty parents. Right.
Mm,
If you
yeah.
really don't want kids, don't just stick with it just because
Mhm.
you just got pregnant. I see people do that all the time. You got 2, 3 kids and they're under 30 with 4 or 5, 3, 4 or 5 kids. I'm like, babes, you don't have to go through with it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like how I feel. I mean, you go up to a 5-year-old and say, would you rather be here? Or would you rather be sucking a dick of a 30-something-year-old man? You let them know.
Yeah. You asked.
Ask them. Stop. Don't ask me in my healing. Ask me when it was happening. That's what I
You
always
are
say.
so direct and so like that's the thing though. It's like I think most people probably would be shocked because I get those comments too of like, "Oh, you'd rather be aborted." I'm like, "Yeah." It's because like you're such a positive like person. Like people who probably don't know you don't know that you like everyone who works for you, like their tagline is like shine your light, always
Mm-hmm.
shine your light, always shine your light. And I would never guess, you know? Like I think people it's like shocking because they assume like, "Oh, you must be like such a depressed like awful person," but like it's the exact opposite.
I think it's the exact opposite because, okay, you know what I compare it to? I don't know. Have you ever been skydiving?
No.
Okay, so it's people who are afraid of heights, right?
Yes, I'm terrified.
My husband is too. So last year for his birthday, I took him skydiving. Every year, like the year before that, we went hot air ballooning. I always like push him a little bit higher.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
now we
gosh.
went like skydiving. And now he just like he's still afraid of heights, but like
Yeah.
he just like knows like I can do it, right? It's
Mm.
because he's been pushed to the worst thing. Literally, if you're afraid of heights, the worst you can do is go 30,000 feet up and jump off a plane.
Yes.
I compare that to trauma. People say like, why aren't you depressed? Why aren't you upset? It's because I've already seen the people who are depressed and upset about things that have happened to them. This is just my opinion, y'all. It's usually because they're afraid that it can happen again or something worse can happen.
Mm.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's not that, oh, this happened to it. It's the fear of, oh, it can happen again or something worse. So the reason why like I choose, and it's a choice, it's actively a choice because I do have my depressed days. That's why I surround myself with a team and a husband and friends that understand, my mental illness, because that's what trauma is. It creates
Yeah.
PTSD, CPTSD, right? And they know there are days I just don't have it. But those days are really, really far few in between because I wake up every day and I say, what else could happen to you, babe?
You've lived through the worst.
Like, for real, like you been raped, you been homeless, you been in foster care, you got abandoned by your adoptive parents, you went through rebirthing therapy, you went through troubled teen industry, you were homeless. Like, what else?
Yeah.
The only thing that can really happen to me is death. And I tell people all the time, I'm so ready to die, but like not ready to die. But like I'm
Yeah.
so like if it comes, like I'm gonna be
Yeah. No, I live at that level every day of like
I'm not afraid. I'm just like, and you're here. We've
if
been
it
waiting.
happened, I would accept it and I'd be like, "Yeah, okay."
Like this is that's the next logical step in my
Yeah.
life,
But
right?
also people don't understand that they're messing with a little bit of crazy
Like,
when you're like, "You're okay." I'm like,
I'm
"I'm
okay. I'm okay with today being my last day. Now,
yes.
do I want
So
today to be my
try me
last?
if you want."
And I'm not going to prisons. I'm not built for that. Okay.
No.
So when I say that people say like I actually had a podcast, a guest who was talking about a voluntary suicide. And
Yeah.
I was just like, and he was telling like how he's ready. And I was like, I thought that was so interesting because he's also an adoptee, a
Yeah.
transracial adoptee. And I was like, so like, how does that work? And he goes, Carlos, it's not that like I'm ready. He goes, I would just, if it happened, I would just wouldn't care. And I was like, okay, I feel like a lot of adoptees kind of feel like this. It's like,
Yes.
because most people are just like, oh my God, I want life. I'm so afraid to die. And we're just like, I think it's sad because part of us have already died.
Yeah. And I think it's the CPTSD.
PTSD, yeah.
I didn't know that that's what it was until I, like, went to therapy and
Yeah. Well,
was
because
told that, like
so CPTSD is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So that just means that it just kept happening to you, right?
yeah,
Most people have PTSD. Maybe they got into a bad car accident. Maybe they're in the military and they saw a really bad attack, right? They had one isolating incident that changed the chemistry of their brain, right? So it's
mhm,
just a recurring trauma, right? CPTSD means that like you went through years of different traumas, right? It's so complex where like you don't even know what experience is triggering you because you have so many different traumas.
100%.
And it's
Yeah,
really hard to navigate that trigger if you don't even know what trauma it is triggering,
yeah,
right? So that's like the thing for me that I have to work on a lot is like, why are you upset? Why are you agitated? Why does this make you feel this way? What emotion is this attached to? Then I have to feel, I find the emotion and then I say, what memory is that attached to? And then I
mm,
have to dig through and say, okay, that's attached to your mom leaving you at the courthouse. So you're upset because you feel abandoned. But a
yeah,
lot of people don't have to go through that, like, right? If they get triggered, they're like, "Oh my god, I heard a loud noise. That reminds me of
yeah.
this bomb that I saw," right? But with people with adoptees and children who've got experienced trauma, we've experienced so many traumatic experiences that we don't even know which one is triggering us. And that's where that
Yeah,
complexity comes in.
and I feel like we've lived so long outside of our bodies of, like, not being fully, like, in,
Did you
our
read that in book 1, when I talked about how I leave my body? And
Yes,
and
exactly, and
and a lot
I
of people are like, "So, like, is it like are you, like, spiritually leaving?" I'm like, "It's like a thing." I don't know if it's, like,
I
spiritual, but,
related
like
to it so much of, like, just not I don't like you said, it's dissociating, and it's like, yeah, I'm not in my body until I went to therapy and realized how I had not been, like, in my body for, like, years and how I could just so easily, like, flip and get out of my body and, like, the moment and just go somewhere, in your brain to get
Mhm.
away. I think that's, like, another thing about it is, like, I think we've, in a way, already experienced, like you said, a level of death, of
I mean,
dying.
and if you really wanna think about it, so when my mom and my sister died, my birth family ended up dying in a car accident. My mom, my sister, and my sister's fiancé. Everyone, like I cried when I first got the news, like, it was shocking. Like, it
Mm,
was like a shocking cry, like a, "Dang," like, what like, how I would cry if I saw, like, a sad video, like, it just really touched me. But
yeah,
then after and it was weird because that feeling quickly dissipated, and I went right to, "Okay, so what do we have to do?" And we started planning the funerals and stuff, and I had to go through that stuff with the morgue, and even, like, when the morgue guy was like, "You can't recognize her body." I said, "Okay, cool, I'll bring my brother down here." I was very nonchalant.
mm,
My family was getting so upset at me. They're like, "Why are you so nonchalant? Like, your mom and your sister just died. Like, my brothers are crying. Everybody's like bawling. And I'm over here talking about what pictures are we going to put on the cake?" Right.
mhm,
I was just very, and then I actually had to call my therapist and I had to say, "Am I okay? Like, I really don't feel bad." And she goes, "Carlos, what you're experiencing is relived grief." She goes, "You remember when we talked in therapy and you would tell me about how you would stay in bed when you got adopted and you would imagine your birth family, but then have to remind yourself that you would never see them again?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "So that's the moment that they died for you." And she goes, "You remember you went through that cycle of grief of sadness, happiness, distraught, anger. You went through that. And this is what adoptive parents also don't realize when they adopt from foster care. When you adopt us and it's a close adoption, our family's killed to us.
yeah,
So they don't realize, and they think like, "Are you getting a new family? Great." But that old family, I still have to grieve that loss.
yeah,
So what I was experiencing through my adoption, I was actually going through grief. Not only was I processing my trauma that I experienced in foster care, after my adoption, I had to grieve my family, and I didn't even
mm,
realize that's what I was doing. So then when they actually died, like a second time, because when I reunited, I was like, "Oh my god, you guys are like angels. Like, didn't think
yeah,
I would ever see you guys again. Cool."
yeah,
6 years later, they died, and I'm like, "This is such a familiar feeling." And
mm,
I felt like I couldn't waste any of my time on that because I knew that that wouldn't get me anything because feeling like that when I was a kid didn't bring them back. It didn't get me anything. All it did was make me sad, right?
so you
So,
moved on to just the grieving process of
just moved on to like the, "All right, let's handle the situation." And my therapist says because they had already died.
yeah,
They had already died for you. So that's why when
yeah,
they died, it was so okay because I had already lived a life without them. I already had imagined the worst case. I already not even imagined, I had already experienced the worst case scenario. And you know what's crazy is that to grieve someone who's dead, who's still alive on this planet, I don't think a lot of people will experience that.
yeah, yeah. And that really is, like, I feel like sums up what it feels like to be adopted, and especially in closed adoptions. And I feel so similar to you of like when I met my biological family, it was such a weird feeling the first time because it did almost feel like I just like thought had let them die, you know? To be able to move through life and, like, grow up and keep going, but I was also very much shattered when I found out that my biological father was already dead. Like, I don't know, it was, like, almost like making it official, you know, of like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
will never meet him ever."
And I think that that's an experience that I've thankfully, I got to meet both of my parents.
Yeah,
My dad's side, I don't really speak to them. My dad, has his own issues, but that's why I say I'm a privileged adoptee because I got to know everyone. I got to
yeah.
make the
That's
decisions,
such a
make the
wild
relationship.
statement if anybody's read your book. But a privileged adoptee.
But Tara, I mean, look at it. I mean, that's it. And that's another thing that kind of agitates me is that people only see this. They see the
Yeah,
office, they see the smile, they see the hair, they see the lifestyle, they see the travel. But like Tara said, if you read that book,
yeah.
right? It's like, oh baby, are you privileged? But to me, I'm just like, I am because I survived all of it. And that's a
Yeah,
privilege. And not only did I survive it, I got to know who I was by the people who created me. And
yeah.
that's just a privilege that a lot of adoptees don't get to say.
So beautiful. Well, do you have any words of advice for, like, queer kids who are in foster care or who are in adoptive homes that are not accepting of them?
Yeah, my advice would be as gay as you can. Okay? There is no reason to be ashamed. There's no reason to try to fake it. If you have to fake it till you make it for your safety, I got you. Just know that there is a life. I do understand that not every kid can just be rebellious and say like fuck you, I'm going to some parents are really dangerous, right? And they're threats and what they can do. So if you have to fake it till you make it, do that. But just know that you don't have to do that in your entire life. Just know that there is a family out there. You can create your own family. Just know, and specifically for queer people, love does exist. And I see a lot of my own friends, like we're getting older, we're like pushing our 40s now. And I see a lot of them still in the lifestyle, right? I know you have some gay friends too, and the
Yeah,
lifestyle's fun. But I feel like because they have been suppressed for like majority of their life,
yeah,
that they actually lose out on like building a life. And I think that about time that they realize that they're in their 50s. And I see a lot of older gay men when we go out, like in their 50s looking for love. And I'm just like, babes, like look for that when you're young too.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And don't settle down with just the first person if you don't want to. But if you do find your first love at 19, babe, settle the fuck down. Like, right?
yeah.
And it's not gonna be easy, but I want you guys to experience, especially queer people, experience what it feels like to be held every night and just feel complete comfort and security with a partner. And the only way to do that is to, believe in yourself, to keep going. And like I say all the time, always shine your light. I know
Mm,
that's my slogan. That's my team's slogan. And the reason why we say shine your light is because even in a dark room, if you're in a pitch dark room and someone turns on a lighter, everyone in that room can see that little dim light, right? And if you're shining, you can guide someone out, even in the dimmest of light, right? So the more that you shine, the brighter that you create a path for people to follow you. And I hope that me sharing my experience, my trauma, my love story will be a light that guides y'all. Um, whether you're an adoptee, whether you're a queer kid, whether you're a black man. I hope that reading and knowing about my experiences will help you know that you're not alone and that you will guide your way through this.
so good, so beautiful, and really, like, I feel like you have been such an example for me when I'm like, "Oh, should I keep doing this?" And then I'm like, "Oh, look at Carlos. Like, he is freaking killing this, and he's been through way more than I could ever even imagine." So, you really do shine your light so bright for, like, all of us and help so many of us. Where
Thank
can
you.
people find you, Carlos? How can people support you?
You guys can support me all of my social medias. Most of my professional social media is my name, Ward of the State. So we have Ward of the State on TikTok, I believe on Instagram, and my name is just Karlos Dillard on YouTube. Also, you guys can grab some of my books on the TikTok shop, y'all. The TikTok shop is where you go get the best deal. But you can get them signed on the TikTok shop or through my website. You can also grab them if you're international. For the international listeners, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he be taking a lot of my money, but he does
Yes.
ship to y'all, to most of y'all.
Yes. And you
You
can download it on your Kindle
yes,
too.
you can download it on your Kindle. If you prefer audiobooks, I do narrate my own audiobook. So it's a really cool audiobook to hear me read my own story. So yeah, and I would love for you guys just to kind of like follow me on social media and follow along. And I do a lot of advocacy. I do a lot of lives where we have hard conversations, but they're good conversations. And then of course the podcast where I met you, Words of the State
Yes.
podcast. So that's where they can find me.
Such a good podcast, and I feel like such a good place to really see what it's like for kids in foster care and adoptees in general to really hear their full experiences. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, for
Thank
coming on
you.
the podcast. I've
No,
loved having you,
thank
and you
you.
were so funny.
And one last thing, like how you said, like you impressed me too, because I'm just like, man, she moved out of the country with her children. The way I could, like, I'm waiting for my dogs to die before I leave the country. So to
Unfortunately for me, we have a
do
long
it
time
with
for the
kids,
kids.
to do it with kids, I'm just like you're also an inspiration, and like just to take that leap and move to an entire country and like learning the language. Like I just like semi stalk YouTube, like, oh my God, like I need to learn a language and push myself to uncomfortable bounds. So I like that we're both pushing each other.
I know, and it's surprising how much nicer people are outside of the United States. Like, they're so nice about
It's
everything.
only gotten worse here. Don't come back. Don't even come back to visit. Like it is only gotten worse here. But thank you for having me. Thank you.
Hello? Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell him. Hey sinners, it's your fucking prophet speaking. God says that we actually came from her vagina, not Adam's rib. God wants us to address her as that bitch now in all prayers and legal documents. Did you know that John has a twink on the side? Olivia doesn't even know. Oh my God, I heard that they're swingers. She practically propositioned me in the church parking lot. Having gained an angel, more like hell gained a bitch.